to Finding Calm in the Chaos. I am Denise Sith, and this is my podcast. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another edition of Finding Calm in the Chaos. Summer is in full force, and I don't know about where you're located, but where we are, pretty much it's either sweltering hot and humid or humid with thunderstorms. It's kind of where we're at this year. It has been brutal. So there are a few things that I want to talk about. I have so many things to talk about that I'm just recording. I'm making up for the lost time for the sabbatical, my friends. I'm making up for it. But today's episode, I want to strictly just talk about Bologna, Italy, because Bologna was surprising to me. So I had never been to Bologna before. None of us have. And it was interesting. It was a surprising desire to want to see more there. There is a lot to see in a small area. Does that make sense? I don't even know if that makes sense. First off, if just like locally, so I don't know if where you're located, but there is always construction in the summer that makes all of the roads a shit show in my area locally, especially in Illinois. They know how to tear stuff up and then make it miserable for the next 5 years. In Italy, they are always doing construction. Now, having a conversation with my friend out there, Tiziana, you can't even really build new things in Italy because so many things are unearthed as a result of that are historical, that sometimes it puts a damper on stuff. So they're constantly having to, keep up and do maintenance and upkeep on building facades and fountains and streets. Number one, because of their age, of how historically old they are, but also because of the sheer amount of people that come through there all the time. And places like Rome, obviously much heavier, Milan, much heavier traffic. Bologna, I found, it was busy, but it wasn't stupid busy. It wasn't stupid busy. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like it was a nice in between. And there are things that I loved about Bologna. And then there's one major thing I didn't like about Bologna. And in all honesty, I think that made a huge difference in how I perceived the city itself. Yeah, let's just go. Let's dive in, friends. So we took the train from Parma to Bologna. It was not a long ride. And the trains are not a big deal in Italy. We find them just convenient, clean, bathrooms, you're good to go. So when we got into Bologna, we went through this little mall area to come from the station. It was very easy to get around. We walked from the station to our apartment. It was not far. It is a city, it's a bustling little city, town. But it is just all the way they decorate stores. So there was obviously Bologna also is moving. You're going to find a lot of mortadella. Okay. If you don't know what mortadella is, I kind of feel like after being in Bologna, it's a disservice to say this, but I used to tell you, so prior to being in Bologna, Italy, I used to say when people would say, what is mortadella? And I'd say, oh, it's Italian bologna. It's really not. First off, I found that the mortadella that we even get here, so mortadella is a big, round, what looks like a piece of bologna, like Oscar Mayer bologna. except not the kind pre-cut in the packages, like an actual like loaf of it, right? Deli meat. But there's a special way that it's made. There's a recipe behind it. They take great pride in that. And so it's a little bit more entailed. There are also like large pieces of, for lack of a better term, fat in them. So you'll see these little like white polka dots that scatter throughout. And on occasion, you will also see little green flecks, like round bean shapes, which are pistachio. Now, I know I said pistachio. Here's the deal. We say pistachio, pistachios, pistachio. That's not how you say the word in Italian. It's pistachio. We even changed the way it's spelled so that we can continue to say it wrong. And I'm not doing that anymore. So it's a pistachio. So in jalapeno, they don't all come with the pistachio, so you don't have to have it that way. But it is delicious, and it's super thinly sliced. It does not come in a big hunker thing like Oscar Mayer. You know what I'm saying? So it is delicious. And it has to be, I believe, almost served at a certain temperature. They just got it down, okay? But when we arrived in Bologna, I made arrangements then to meet the property manager at the apartment that we had rented. Now, this is the first time on our stay that I used a property manager. So on this particular trip, and I have used property managers in the past, and you're like, what am I talking about, Denise? So we use VRBO because I cannot stand Airbnb. You're like, wait, Denise, they could be listed on both. They absolutely can. I just prefer VRBO. I think the customer service is better as a renter. Okay. I don't know. Don't come at me and be like, I hated them when I put my apartment on there to rent to people. I'm not a landlord renting out. I'm a person who's coming in renting. Okay. So I prefer VRBO, especially when we're in Europe. Now, we used, and I can totally state it now because I have pictures and I went back and forth with VRBO, but we rented from a property manager called Wonderful Italy. I don't know if any other companies are called that. It had a W and an I. They've got an app, so it's a pretty big deal if you got an app, right? Wonderful Italy. The property manager that met us was wonderful. Paola. Okay? She was wonderful. There was a elevator in the building, but if when I say elevators, unless you're in a hotel that is Americanized, these hotels or these elevators are put in, I feel sometimes aftermarket, okay, or from a long time ago. And so they're usually at a 2-person capacity with no bags, or a 1-person capacity with a bag and maybe a child. Okay. So they are very small, and they're usually, you open the door, you slide open the gate, you get in, you close the door, you close the gate, you press your button, you go up to your floor. It's that kind, old school, right? So I appreciate that on the days that I'm suffering because I can't get upstairs. I have no problem coming downstairs, but in that kind of heat, lupus, it's going up. That's a problem. Have I gone up? Absolutely. If it didn't have an elevator, I would. But there's an elevator, so duh. Why wouldn't I use the elevator? So that's an American thing, by the way, because most people would not use the elevator in Italy. Just saying. So we get there. She meets us. She was at another property at the time, so there was about a 10-minute wait. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. It was a small street. We kind of like the street literally was like the building, and the building across from us connected to 2 historical streets. It was right smack dab in the historical part of Bologna, which was wonderful. Like, what a location. We literally walked everywhere in Bologna. We did not have to take any public transportation at all. Perfect. So Now, from the apartment itself, now I'm taking the elevator up, but Paula is already taking the stairs, the elevator up with Angie, because I'm too big to get in the elevator with Paula. I'm not even making this shit up, guys. So she goes up with my niece, and then Peter goes up, and then Carl's trying to take the stairs, and then I'm trying to take the elevator up. By the time I get up, the tour of the apartment is almost gone, which I'm like, wait, you're giving the tour of the apartment to basically my 20-year-old niece. Like, I rented it, you know? Now, I will say, I already knew that the apartment was vintage. So it had a classic, like Bologna floor, like the way they tile it and map it out. It was an older apartment. I sometimes love that. Like the one in Parma was beautiful, right? It was just vintagely classic, classy, clean. It was wonderful, right? It was rich. I loved it. This apartment, yeah, I didn't get those same vibes at all. Now, most people will pay a cleaning fee to, when you have your Airbnbs or your VRBOs, part of your payment is a cleaning fee so that when you leave, they can pay their cleaners to come in. It's like a rotation, right? So when you're going in, even if it's a high turnover, there's a reason why you have a certain time. I'm not a fan of, oh, can I check in early because my train got in at 10 and check-in's at 3. That's too bad. Figure out what to do. Check your suitcases at a suitcase place at the train station or the air or locally. A lot of times there's tons of places that will check your bags, little locations in the towns, especially in Italy. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but no, you cannot check in early. I don't understand why people feel like they are entitled to check in early just because they got there early. They need to do things in the apartment. I don't want to go in after somebody and I'm rushing them cleaning. Let them clean. Let them change the linens. Let them do all the things. Well, I'm thinking that there were multiple things going on in this place. Now, like I said, I'm okay with things being old. The view on the deck was gorgeous. We had like a little tiny like deck, and when you looked out of it, you can see all the rooftops. Now, if you see like, do I want to see the rooftops in Chicago or in New York? No, not really. But in Italy, it's gorgeous because you can see like all the little balconies and what they're growing and laundry. And you never thought laundry hanging outside was like cutesy until you've been to Italy. Flowers, just people on their decks, the beautiful clay tile roofs, and just all the different levels and grades of them. And then in the far, when you looked off, you could see the two towers. It's a big thing, and we'll talk about that later. But you could see the two towers because that's how close we were to the historical district. And I thought, this is so awesome. But then I looked over to my right, and there's a bucket there with like an old mop. And I thought, why is it just sitting outside on the balcony? Like, did somebody leave it here? Is there not a closet? Now, she proceeded to tell us that there was a mocha pot. She showed it to me, the property manager. However, there was no coffee. There was nothing. There was no water, no coffee, no like nothing. Now, might I add, this place was not cheap, but there was a 140 euro cost for cleaning. That's a lot, my friends. Okay. It's about 165 bucks. Okay. US dollars. And I'm noticing right away with OCD that this furniture looks a little stank. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was old, classic, a yellow, that mustard yellow couch from 1970s. Like I said, I knew it was vintage and I'm okay with that. But the couch itself was not cleaned, I feel like it should have been. Like, if you can't clean the couch, then it needs to be replaced, right? And every time we moved on it, it made noises, and both of them converted into beds. There were two couches, both converted into beds, basic, dining room table, totally okay. There was a hole in the wall where it looks like maybe something was locked or a lock was inserted on maybe a pocket door or something. And they just basically looked like it fell out and they just left it that way. Like I said, the kitchen was bare. There was nothing, no towels, it was crazy. Okay. I'm like, wow, we have like a half roll of paper towels. Okay. I'll take it. They kept saying to scan the code, the QR code, and you would get directions for like garbage. Again, we've talked about how throwing garbage out in Italy, you need like a PhD if you're an American. No joke. Okay. But I want to do things proper. And so we're scanning, but nothing is matching up to what we have. Like nothing. The garbage is not where they say it is. We can't find a garbage. We can't. Now, a lot of times they will tell you literally to walk around with your garbage until you find it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do that for a $140 cleaning fee, but I will take it down with me. Like I'm totally okay with that. But I'm like, wait a minute, this is too much. So I'm trying to let it go. Okay. It had air conditioning. However, as soon as we put the air conditioning on, it blew the breaker. So, Carl, Mr. Sith, figured out where that was right away and got that turned back on. And then we realized we couldn't do the washer or blow dryers at the same time of all 3 air conditioning units. So there was an air conditioning unit in my bedroom, the kids' bedroom, and then the living area. So I'm like, well, that's cool. We have an air conditioner, right? We can't leave it on when we leave, which totally makes sense, right? They just don't do that there, and it's not efficient in all honesty when you think of their electricity costs and utility costs. So, the bathroom, okay, the seat in my bathroom, there's 2 bathrooms, is kind of like, you know how when you have like a cheap toilet seat, like when you just buy a home, they have that like really flimsy plastic seat on it. That was the toilet seat. And one of the screws on the back to put it in was missing. So it slid back and forth, which is awesome when you're a big girl, right? And I'm like, this is insane. So I'm sweaty, I'm big, and I have to make sure that when I'm sitting on the toilet that I don't like flip off of it. Number 2, the toilet seat, when you lift the lid part of it, is cracked. So now every time I sit on it, I have to make sure I'm also not pinching my fat ass while I'm on it. I'm not even kidding. So we like the natural air. So I was opening some of the shutters and to open the windows. Now, mind again, I know there are no screens, very few screens unless you own the home, but there usually is not screens. That's not a big deal if you're there and you're like, oh my God, there are no screens in the windows. That's pretty common. It's pretty common if it's not your house. Okay. So like nobody even across the way had screens in the people like living locally across from us. But I'm okay with that. But I'm going to lift the blinds. I open the windows and they're all like cracked, dirty. Like I'm talking filthy. The windowsills are covered in like just tons of garbage and like nails. And I'm like, why is this here? So I'm taking pictures, right? Because when I come into an apartment, I always take pictures of how I found it. And then I take pictures of when I left and I do the checkout, right? And then I'll leave a review when I get to the next place of that one. And then I move on. This place, yeah. I left all the pictures and I left a thing stating I gave them 3 stars out of 5. I did that because I thought the location of the apartment was amazing. And if you're a young kid, you probably don't care if you're in your 20s. Maybe you do. I would have, but I'm just saying, like if a bunch of dudes stayed there, maybe they wouldn't care. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Okay. Some people might not care. I do, especially when there's a 140 euro cleaning fee. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And then when you went into the kids' bedroom, my niece is like, Aunt Denise, look. And she is sitting on the bed on one side, right? Like on her phone. She leans over and she lifts her hand up in the air and she smacks the bed. And all of this dust comes out of it. And I'm like, nope. Now I'm looking at the whole house, right? And I'm taking pictures. I'm in my room. I'm looking in the bathroom. The lights are like so dusty. You can like, I filmed myself running my hand over like the tables, and it's like somebody hadn't been there in years. I was like, what is going on right now? But it was like, I left them a review, 3 stars, and said, I'm really sorry, but for a 140 euro cleaning fee, this place was filthy. The location is fantabulous, but like, why leave a mocha pot if there's no coffee? What am I going to do with rice? There was rice in the cabinet. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not eating rice. Like, that's a no. But it was so strange. And they actually went back to VRBO after I left it and asked them to remove it. And VRBO's like, no. And they're like, oh, she broke the toilet seat. And they're like, nope, we have, when? And so they're like, she has pictures dated before that happened, like before when she arrived. So they didn't do that. And you charge a 140 euro fee, but yet she's going through this whole apartment on these videos and all we see is filth. Like, it's completely dusty. It was, yeah. So needless to say, they wanted to penalize me for that toilet seat. And after showing various photos and videos, that's all been cleared up and my review stands, and they said that they would not take it down because, in all honesty, you shouldn't have to. Because what you can do now in the future, when somebody wants to know if your place is dirty, you can say that you've rectified it. Or you can comment under mine and say, I'm really sorry that our cleaners did not do the proper job. We've since had it totally cleaned. We've changed cleaners, something, right? Not, I'm just a total management company who's trying to roll over this apartment as much as I can. We haven't been in there for ages and we don't care that everything's broken as long as you're paying your premium price to be in historical Bologna. And that's just exactly what it was. But we didn't let it bother us, and we totally took advantage of the fact that it was so close to Bologna. Whew, that was like 20 minutes but I had to get that off my chest though, because let me tell you, it literally, it affected us every time we went home because I was like, oh, and the beds were horrible. It was the only place the beds were horrible. The only place. So I'm like, here we go, Bologna, we walked around, beautiful stores. They have this portico system that is absolutely like mind-blowing. What a lot of people don't know, there is so much in Bologna. I did not know. I would have scheduled more time in some of these cities had I known there was so much to see. Not going to beat myself up over it because, hey, that means we got to go back, right? But one of the things we saw is as we were walking down the block to go get something to eat that night, we saw this like little hole in the wall. And apparently there are little hidden canals in Bologna. It's actually called Little Venice. It's just insane. And because you don't even know, it's literally like a best kept secret or something. Okay. Because underneath the streets, right? It's a landlocked city, but there is a network of hidden canals. I'm not even joking, but it has like literally its own little Venice, right? So apparently back in the day, those little waterways were used to power the city's silk mills. Okay. They're famous for silk mills. I did not know that at the time. I'm not even joking. If you knew that Bologna was famous for silk, yeah, let me know. But it's how they powered them and transported goods. So today, almost all of them are hidden under the streets. But there is a little spot that we found where you can kind of glimpse into this like little underground world. Okay. So it was off of Via Piella. And it's a small window in the wall. It's literally like maybe 14 by 14. And if you peek through it, you get a view that makes you feel like you're literally looking through a portal into Venice. It's insane. Completely insane. I was like, this is the most awesome thing ever. So that was very surprising, but so cool to see that. Good restaurants. We had, like I said, the view from the apartment was amazing. We loved it. We loved walking down the little streets. So the buildings are pretty high in Bologna. So as you're walking through, the streets are very narrow. So they come up very high on both sides of you. And I absolutely love walking down. Like, I'm trying to put it in some sort of perspective for Americans. Okay. So imagine you're walking through like Lincoln Park, brownstones on both sides, and the streets are just enough where you can literally smash yourself up against the wall so a Toyota Prius can drive through. That's how small they are. Cobblestone again, and some cement, but like a different kind of cement. It was kind of cool. So we wound up walking around, just kind of check out the neighborhood, the different plazas. We found a bunch of awesome coffee shops. It really pays to kind of walk away from, go down the little tiny streets and find where the locals go eat. Go find where the locals have their cafe in the morning. It makes a difference. When we went, there's a few places that we went to go see. So, but let me talk about some of the things that they do have there, right? So one of the things they have is the Whispering Walls of Palazzo del Podesta. Okay. So this is crazy. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. So if you're standing in the corner of Podesta, Palazzo del Podesta, sorry, and you whisper, there's this weird architectural feature where you can actually have a conversation with someone standing in the opposite corner of the building without even raising your voice above a whisper. Like literally, it's an acoustic marvel, and it's known as the Whispering Walls. Okay. It was discovered apparently by accident, like in the 14th century. And the legend is that it was used by lepers to confess their sins without risking contact with the priests. And today it's just basically you send your, significant other to the other side and exchange a message with them. I'm just saying. Just saying. So those are like two really cool things. The third thing that we saw while we were there that was, it was unbelievable, was the Basilica of San Petronio. So San Petronio is St. Peter. Okay. That's the patron saint of Bologna. So Peter was pretty psyched. Okay. But it is literally the one of the most iconic buildings. Okay. That has been waiting to be finished for 500 years. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Okay. So San Petronio Basilica is the 10th largest church in the world. Okay. And it's been rocking this unfinished look since the 16th century. Okay. Now it sounds strange. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Bologna and look up San Petronio or St. Peter Basilica unfinished facade. Okay. The bottom part of it is white and the top part of it is like old stone. Okay. Now the story goes that the original plan was to make this even bigger. Okay. The San Petronio Basilica in Bologna was going to be even bigger than St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. But, okay, again, this is the story. The Pope was not too keen at the time. Okay, the Pope at the time, not the Pope now. He wasn't too keen on being upstaged. So he put a stop to that building So they couldn't raise enough funds. So they were raising funds to get things done. But I mean, locally, only so many people could raise money, and they would not get funded by the Catholic Church because it's like they didn't want to be upstaged. They were like, yeah, no, that can't be greater than the one we got. But today, the Basilica's facade is like a weird, like it's kind of a cool mix of marble on the bottom and like bare brick on top. So everyone said it was like the architectural equivalent of wearing a tuxedo jacket with pajama bottoms. I thought it was hilarious, and I'll never forget that. But it works, though. It works, okay? It's like an unintentional fashion statement, right? But it's one of Bologna's most recognizable features, right? Inside the church, shut your mouth. It is like, just when you think, I told you, when you think you cannot see a prettier church in Italy, the next city says, hold my beer, hold my wine, hold my cafe. I'm just saying, you know what but it's absolutely gorgeous, like gorgeous. The ceilings, there's a tomb there. There's a little tiny museum because of the year of the Jubilee. They had some old hymnals out from the 1400s and 1500s. They were the Antifonari Vesperale, and the basically the Vesperal Antifonaries. So choral books that contain the chants for like various liturgical celebrations. And this particular one was the Vesperal, I think it's antiphonary, right? Proper of St. Petronius. So it contained the chants for the Vespers on the eve of the celebration of the patron saint of St. Peter. So it was really, really cool. And they were beautiful and they were huge. Because remember, people hand wrote these back then. Everything was like handwritten. It was just unbelievable. Bologna also has the world's oldest university. All right. Now, we were outside the university. Obviously, we not go in the university. So, I mean, there's that. But it is literally home of the oldest university in the Western world. It was established in 1088. The University of Bologna has been churning out minds of brilliance for nearly a millennium. Think about that. A freaking millennium. I mean, that's insane. And the university, here's the cool part, was founded by students. It was a group of law students, apparently, got together and hired teachers to create like their own school. Sort of like a co-op. Sounds like a homeschool co-op. I mean, that's how you take education into your own hands, peeps. But you can visit like the whole thing. I think it's called, I'm going to say it. It's Archiginesio. Archiginesio. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But you can see the university's original building. They have this incredible anatomical theater where medical students learn to craft. So like they would do autopsies in the center and all of the medical students would be around it. It's like stepping into a time machine. Okay. Except you don't get a degree anymore. Just that was a bad joke. Bologna is also the birthplace of tortellini, which I'm sorry, I love me some tortellini. Peter, it's so strange. You think a kid would love something filled with cheese, like pasta filled with cheese. But he's give or take on this. Not all tortellini is created equal with Peter. And I'm going to have to agree with him there. But it is the birthplace of tortellini, okay? They're like, if you don't know what tortellini are, they're like the little, I don't know, like belly button shaped parcels, right? Like little pastas. All right. And legend has it, okay, the legend is that a nosy innkeeper And Castelfranco Emilia, which is a town near Bologna, was so captivated by the beauty of Venus's navel that he created a tortellini in his image. Okay, so I have no idea if that's true, but I will tell you that they take it seriously. Okay, and there's actually an official gold replica of tortellini that's kept in the Chamber of Commerce. It's like a crown jewel of Italy. I'm not even joking. I don't know if that story's true. That's like, the folklore behind it, but it's not proper tortellini. Here is the thing. Like, what do we do with tortellini? Technically, my favorite way to have tortellini here is in soup. And I ain't wrong, okay? Apparently, you are not supposed to put pasta sauce on it. It's supposed to be served in broth. So they will serve you tortellini in like this wonderfully flavored clear broth. It's beautiful. It's almost like a consommé. It's beautiful. So there's that. Then they have the two towers there. I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff in Bologna. A lot of stuff. So the two towers, so it's like it happened in medieval Bologna. So during the medieval times, the city, it was like, I don't know, I guess the original like Insta-worthy backdrop. So you have two noble families, and they're both competing to build the tallest tower for zero practical reasons, literally just to show off how filthy rich they were. So at one point, apparently Bologna had like more than 180 of these bad boys dotting the skyline. Okay. Fast forward to today, there's only about 20 that are still standing, but there are two showcasers, and those are the two towers. So Asinelli and Garisenda. So these are leaning towers. They make Pisa look like it's standing straight. I'm not even joking. So Asinelli is the taller one. It stands at a whopping, I think it's I wrote it down. 318 feet. And it leans 1.3 degrees off center. Now it is shorter, the shorter one, Garisenda, that's 157 feet tall. Okay. But it's got a 4-degree lean. Like, stop it. Okay. And I believe Garisenda is the one that is shouted out in Dante's Divine Comedy. I think he talks about it in that one, but you definitely have to check it out. Now, we did not go up in the towers. Okay. But if you want, you can climb Asinelli Tower. Apparently the view is amazing, but it is 498 steps. So that was a hard ass no from me, especially in the heat. It was so hot. Okay, so let me talk about these porticos. So everywhere you're going, a lot in the shopping areas, there are these porticos. Okay, so this is what they're known for. Now everyone's like, for those of you who don't know what a portico is, okay, it is a covered walkway. Okay, so let's talk about this, folks. It is a iconic feature, the porticos in Bologna, and they're not just like regular covered walkways. Okay, it has like 25 miles of porticos, and it has the longest stretch of covered walkway in the world. That's insane. You literally can walk from one end of the city to the other end and not ever get rained on. Okay, but here's like the deal. Okay, they weren't built to just keep people dry. Okay, so the legend is that in the Middle Ages, okay, students that flocked to the university needed cheap places to stay. So the city allowed homeowners to extend their upper floors over the street, and that created instant student housing. I'm not even joking. And covered walkways in one fell swoop. There you go. Okay. The porticos today are part of the UNESCO World Heritage. They are listed on there. And they could be anything from like wooden ones by Via Marsala. Okay. And then there's like super ornate pillars and all that over by Strada Maggiore. But each portico tells a story. They're not all the same. You really got to look around. Okay. They're literal architectural marvels. Okay. You're literally walking through history. And also there is a way to take the porticos. You could walk all the way up to the church at the top of the hill, and it's kind of overlooking Bologna. All right. And it's called the Sanctuary of the Madonna di San Luca. Okay. It's a Catholic basilica, and it's dedicated to the Virgin Mary. It houses this revered icon of the Black Madonna with Child. It was believed to be painted by St. Luke. So that was the big deal. Okay. It's a popular pilgrimage site. It's a prominent landmark. You can see it, whatever, but it is accessible by a long porticoed walkway. Okay. The porticoed walkway has 666 arches. You can't even make this stuff up. We were like, wait, what? For those of you, obviously, I don't know where you would be living to not know that apparently the number 666 people associate that with the devil. But the fact that this cathedral, this church is a monument to the Virgin Mary, has 666 arches. Like, who's the guy who like was doing the last one being like, we're almost there? And I'm like, make 2 short ones. It's 666. No, I'm just going to make one more. It's like, can we go with 667? No. Like, oh my gosh. It's just insane. But it's literally situated on a hill called the Monte della Guarda. It's about 300 meters above the city. You can actually take these little trains. I wish I was joking. It is a train that you get in these little tiny cars, okay? And you can have little headsets they'll give you, and you can listen to them in different languages. They'll kind of give you a tour on the way up. It is a beautiful ride up. Absolutely beautiful. You're driving through traffic. Know that if you're wary of heart, being in a tiny little train with wheels that's driving through traffic in Bologna and going up a hill. Hey, it was an adventure. We enjoyed it wholeheartedly. We enjoyed it. The portico is the distinctive feature, right? So it's a long covered walkway that stretched from the city to the sanctuary. It was designed to protect the patrons from the weather. Okay. Apparently, okay. So I'm looking at my notes now. I was writing like a madman every night to try to get all this stuff down so I could talk about it. But it does. So the 666 arches symbolize a snake that the devil tries to climb, but is stopped at the foot of the church. See, there was a reason behind it. I just couldn't remember. The icon of the Madonna is absolutely beautiful. So it's famous for that. And it was believed to have been painted by St. Luke, and it's brought down into the city of Bologna each year by this procession that they use this portico for. Now we thought about going up by the train. It's a beautiful ride. I highly suggest it. You can get tickets like right in the downtown piazza. It's not a big deal. And then they go like every 30, 40 minutes. And then the train will also pick you up as well and take you back down to the exact same like piazza. But you could also choose to walk the porticos down, all 666. They said it takes about an hour. And I was like, no thanks, because it's hotter than heck right now, and I need to have a coffee. But the church itself it dates back to the 12th century. And you're like in there and touching, like you're sitting in a pew and looking at these things. It's just overwhelming, the beauty of it itself. Okay. So there used to be a funicular. Okay. So the funicular is like the cable car. All right. That's not in operation anymore, but you can take the bus up there. You can drive up there. you can walk, and then there's that awesome little tiny train. So I highly suggest the train. We had a great time with it. We had an absolutely great time with it. What else do I have here? Oh my gosh. Oh, I had more facts about the Basilica of San Petronio. So we love it. So the basilica itself is located in Piazza Maggiore, which is the largest plaza, and it is the most important church of Bologna because of the patron saint. It is, the construction began, so there I had a little more details because it was, you got to Google this, friends, because it's so weird to see this beautiful white marble. If you put your hand over like the top part of your eye, you could just see this gorgeous thing. And then all you have to do is like roll your hand down and just look at the top part. And you're like, it looks like two different buildings. Okay. So the construction began in 1390. All right. In 1514, it started changing. Okay. And that's when this new Latin cross model, okay, would have been larger than St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Okay. And then I believe the Pope that was like, nope, right? He blocked that right out. I believe it was Pope Pius IX. He blocked the construction and insisted on the erection of the Archiginnasio instead. Okay. So the facade remained unfinished. The marble that was there was put in, I believe, starting in 1530 something by Ranuzzi, but the interior was completed in different areas. It's literally divided into like three like naves, right? And which open into like 22 chapels decorated by different artists. Okay. Donato Credi, Francesco Francia, Parmigianino. There's different, like, so it's hard to explain when you walk into the church itself, and then there are literal naves, like little compartments in each part of the church that just line each other, and they all have different dedications. So there's that. There's also a sundial by the astronomer Cassini. It's pretty well known. It's the longest in the world. It measures like 67 plus meters. I don't know. What is that in feet? I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't write it down. I wrote meters probably because I was too lazy to convert it myself at the time. Just saying. Again, we saw so much while we were there. So much. They have the sanctuary of San Luca there. We did not do that. They have Neptune's fountain. Okay, we liked Neptune's fountain. We stopped there. They have a little Nessoni outside where you can get fill up your water bottles, get some water on you, wash your hands, whatnot. But it is the Neptune fountain. Now, there is this optical illusion with the fountain, okay? So it's kind of mind-blowing because somebody had to put like a lot of care into this, all right? So Bologna is known for this Neptune fountain, okay? It is a piece of Renaissance sculpture, okay? But it's kind of a cheeky optical illusion, okay? And it's kind of risque. It kind of is, considering, right? So it was created by GM Bologna in the 16th century, okay? And it's a fountain, and it depicts the sea god Neptune surrounded by all these voluptuous mermaids. They're like holding their boobs, and there's like water coming out of their nipples. And Peter's just like, really? It's like, well, hey, but it gets a little interesting. Okay. So if you stand just in the right spot and look at Neptune's outstretched thumb, so he's got his hand out and his thumbs up in the air, right? It appears that he has an erection. So it was an optical trip that was so scandalous that the church tried to censor it, apparently. But GM Bologna designed it so that the illusion only works from one specific angle. I mean, he hit it technically right in plain sight. Okay. So the locals call it the Giant. And it remains a very beloved landmark. It is really cool and it's beautiful to even see. I'm just saying, if you're in Piazza Nettuno, is what it's called, the Plaza of Neptune, you can see it. And if you walk around a little bit to see the visual prank, it's pretty funny. We did. You got to walk around. You really got to look. I mean, he really made you look for it to fool the church. He did. What else did they do? So apparently this was like, we were in a museum and I'm like, wait, what? Hold on to your headphones, peeps. Okay. Because this was a bombshell for me. The radio wasn't invented by Marconi. Apparently it was created in Bologna by some dude named Augusto Rihi. Yeah. So Marconi gets all the glory, but it was actually his professor, Rihi, which is, I think it's Rigi, R-I-G-H-I. Maybe it's Rigi, who literally is basically laid out all of the radio transmission stuff and his experiments. And he was modest, I guess. He never patented any of his stuff, and told Marconi to go ahead and do it, which was his student. And he took all the credit and a Nobel Prize, by the way. So, yeah, you can go to the Physics Museum at the University of Bologna and see some of the original equipment. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but I'm saying, like, without that, like, dude, we would not even be talking right now. That's crazy, right? It was interesting. I love stuff like that. Love it, love it, love it while I'm traveling. It's just so interesting. What else did we look at? Food. Don't even get me started with the food. Just delicious food. What else did we do? Oh, did you know there's a whole jazz quarter in Bologna? A whole jazz quarter. I was dying. I did not realize Thelonious Monk was there, Ella Fitzgerald, like all of these major people. So also there are 3 different places we had talked about in the past that were there. So I can't remember. I think it's the Pisanini. Oh, I hate when I can't remember stuff. But we went to Mortadella, which I highly recommend. It's street food. So Mortadella, I don't know if we talked about that before, but you'll get a beautiful, almost like Kaiser type bun, warm, and it'll have a like liquid, like creamy mozzarella in it with pistachio cream and pistachios in it with mortadella. Delicious. Then there's Tigalino. And that has a bunch of different sandwiches. Those are like little round breads that are baked in like almost, think a big English muffin. So a wider English muffin, like longer, bigger, but thinner. And they just cut them in half and stuff them. We got like a flight of those, like of traditional ones. And then they're like tortilla ones. So like they have different tortillas. Not a tortilla. It's like a mixture of like naan, a tortilla, and pita had a baby. This is what it looked like. And they had, again, mortadella and the cream in there it was just delicious. Delicious. But highly recommend going on all the tours. The view, you guys, the view from the top of the church sanctuary of the Virgin Mary up on the hill is outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. It's mind-blowing. And the porticos are just gorgeous. And apparently people will write prayers that have come true or prayers that they're wanting on their way up there, like a pilgrimage. They do that. So we wound up eating at Mortadella a couple times just because. And we also had a coffee shop that we went to all the time. And I forget what it was called. But it was like a chain, but we loved their coffee was amazing. Loved it. We We did spend one day at La Quadraria. It is basically a free little art institute. So they were apparently willed, in someone's will, they left them a bunch of artwork. And so they display it for people to see for free. It was gorgeous. We loved seeing that. It was a nice little area to be in. As we were walking from there back into the historical center to go to the museum for the day, we found this little boba shop. Peter's like in love with boba. So we stopped at a boba shop and wound up being from Asian Italians. How crazy is that? But these are the things I love, that they're clearly Asians bringing their Asian cuisine. Peter got dumplings and Angie got soup, ramen. But to see that they speak and are also Italian, that's the stuff that makes me want to keep traveling, that I just can't stop traveling because I love it. But we did that. Peter loved the noodles and all that, and they were so nice. So nice. So apparently the coffee shop we went to, I don't know. I'm trying to find the name of it, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, there is a historical museum in Bologna. In all honesty, it has one of the entire basement is filled with Egyptian artifacts. It has one of the largest Egyptian artifacts in Europe outside of Egypt. It is quite remarkable. And it had a bunch of beautiful things and unearthed just statues and portico pieces and column pieces and this huge statue of Nero, lots of stuff of Neptune and tiles and mosaics, and just gorgeous. It was the most interesting place. It was lovely. The other sandwich place. Sorry, my brain. So the third sandwich place we went to was La Piadena. Very nice. Those were the little flatbreads. Sorry. I'm like, wait, what? But it was really nice. And the cool part is when we left our apartment, we did so much, and there was so much more we could have done that we didn't do. It was insane. And just super local. Definitely stay if you don't mind the walk. I mean, I don't mind walking if it's close, but we really enjoyed staying in the historical center of Bologna. I definitely stay again, but I would definitely only stay with a private individual. Period. We actually saw a lot of places based on signs, and I'm like, snap. I'm taking pictures so I remember the addresses, right? So I could look for them online. But when we left, we walked back to the train station after getting something for breakfast, and we just had coffee and chilled out at the train station until we got ready to head to, where do we go next? We went to Florence. So that was the deal with that. And it was really nice. Tons of construction as usual, but beautiful old monuments. Even just like right outside the train station, there was this old, like, historical artifact. It was just gorgeous. And that's where they had a pistachio espresso with like cream on top. Oh, it was so good. I'm like, stop it. Now I can get like cafe with espresso and cream. What? And you got to like kind of stir it up. And the pistachio is like kind of like a liquid, but it's groundy like the nuts. So if you have texture issues, I guess that's a no-go. But we thoroughly enjoyed our time there. When we were checking out, that's what I was saying. I'm wrapping it up, and I think I almost did it under an hour, or at the hour mark now that I'm looking. Whatever. I'm going to go over. We could not figure out, Mr. Sith walked all over the apartment complex looking for the garbage, and we couldn't find it. Finally, he wound up asking our neighbor across the way. There was like 2 apartments on each floor, on our side. And what she was basically like, I just put it out in the hall. and somebody picks it up and I'm like, wait, what? So we did not have a lot of garbage. We had like one bag. So, cause I condense, right? So I took all of the bags, put them all into one, tied it up, and we just set it outside the apartment building when we left. And that was the end of that. They didn't complain about that part. So maybe they should like update I asked, that was part of my review, was that for them to update which apartments are which, because clearly this is not one of the newer apartments that had all of the things they were referring to. So there's that. But that's all I got for today. I can't believe that like we're going on week 4 here and I'm still talking about Italy. But yeah, it is. I will talk to you guys later. Until next week, leave with kindness. Bye.